we're here playing Fates of Twinion, a very old game, and we're playing it on a modern client that's been remade. You're the developer of this remake. Why don't you tell us a little something about it?
So this is MedievaLands. MedievaLands is a remake of, first it was just the Shadow of Yserbius, and I released that almost a year ago today. And now I have added Fates of Twinion. These are two of the very first old school graphical MMOs. Back in the day, you could play up to 60 people in a room. Now you can have infinite, but I mean, there's not many people playing these old school games today. So what is it? It's an old school multiplayer dungeon crawler with grid-based movement, turn-based combat, and it's got puzzles and quests to solve in this expansive dungeon that goes deep into the underground and into the timeless beyond. It's a blast from the past.
That's what I would call it. So, what originally inspired you to remake this old game?
So I played Imagination Network from about 1993 to 1995. I was all of like 8 to 10 years old, and I was kind of blown away by the idea that you could play a computer game with other people. How cool was that? But also, like, I loved the community. The community was really kind and forgiving to an 8-year-old who had no idea what they were doing, and they kind of like walked me through a large portion of the game. I didn't complete the game back then. I only completed it after I remade it, actually. And I don't know, like, I have always enjoyed retro gaming. In my life, I have always returned to like Ultima Online or Star Wars Galaxies, which I played back in the day. And I guess now I'm just going deeper and deeper into my past.
It makes sense to me. I was going to say, before we talk anymore, Alan, Con, why don't you guys hop into the dungeon, and I will meet you here at the main entrance so that we can form our group. So,
I am standing in the exact same spot that you are.
Okay, I see both of you here. I'm noticing that I'm getting a bit of a frame rate dip when I'm on this screen. Yeah, when I go, it seems the frame rate dips when I hit view others. Interesting. I think it's because it's constantly scanning for new players, possibly.
This is really helpful. So it is really rare for me to see the game from the perspective of the players. I am going to be using this stream, and I hope you're recording it.
I am, absolutely. You'll be able to access the VOD for up to 60 days.
So I will be using this stream to bug test and make the experience better for the people that come after you. And I'm going to be doing a grand release of this game and trying to get some press for it probably in a week or so. This will be really helpful.
Yeah. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to... Con, I need you to click on View Others. Then from there, click on My Name. And once you do that, you should be able to request to join me. Yes. So, Alan has already requested to join me. In fact, yeah, this looks very good. Very good indeed. So, here we are. We've got this set up. What we're going to do first is we're going to check each location in this starting area, and while we do that, I'd like Zane to tell us a little more about the project. Not only, I mean, we can get into Twinion a little bit later, but just for people who have never played anything like this before, well, why would you want to come here and play it? You know, like what does it bring to the table, basically?
Okay, so like what kind of game is it? I guess in design, Yserbius and Twinion, the MedievaLands, is a blobber. It's a role-playing game where you control a single player in a world from the first person's perspective. In single-player games, you control more than one player. The classic example in this genre is The Bard's Tale. Another like really popular example is Might and Magic. And so this is the same kind of game. Grimrock is a modern example. But here, and this is kind of, I mean, unique, especially for the time period. You're controlling one character in a period. So, Zaric, you're in control of the group. The other players are kind of just following your lead at this point. But then when you get into situations where the dungeon presents you with a puzzle, your other players in your group are going to need to use skills to successfully navigate those puzzles. When you get into combat, you are each going to have to choose an action.
Well, we're going to get into combat in just a second, so I imagine that this hall will give us combat pretty quickly. Oddly enough, I must be very lucky. Oh, okay. So this is not a random encounter. This is actually kind of scary for me. So I'm going to try to back off, but I was unable to escape. So let's give this a try.
Yeah. So, other single-player blobbers from the same time period focused on kind of having a detailed world for you to explore, like a bunch of different continents, towns, in-depth characters to talk to.
Yeah.
By comparison, I think Yserbius and Twinion, they strip most of this detail away. You know, the game world is very simple. You just have this one dungeon, and the dungeon doesn't really change over the course of the world, and I think this is intentional.
Yeah.
You have a simple world, you take away the complexity of managing all that world state, which would have been really difficult to exchange when you had all those players, you know, with their modems that could only exchange maybe 100 bytes every second.
Mm-hmm.
And by taking away the detailed world, you force the players to, you know, talk about interacting with each other.
All right, so we just died to this encounter, and as a result, they dragged our bodies out of the volcano. Is there a death penalty at this point in the game, or no?
There's no death penalty.
All right, well, in that case...
That's from the original as well.
Yes. So, you can go over to the guild and alter your stats, skills, things like that, but we're going to hop back into the dungeon. And we're going to be a bit more careful, probably get some random encounters under our belt before we go and fight a big pack of knights. So in the meantime, we're actually going to change this up a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make Alan the leader. And then if we can reorganize this, get Khan in the group as well. Khan, go ahead and join Alan. I'm actually going to leave the party. Khan, you join Alan. And once you do that, I'm going to join Alan. And I see the challenge feature is listed on the button. Are you able to enter PvP combat now?
You can do PvP combat, yes.
Okay. Well, let's just be incredibly dumb then. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Alan here, and I'm going to challenge him. So, Alan, accept my challenge. All right. Looks like... I'm not listed on this battle, but I'm going to shoot a lightning bolt. Wait, you can only.
Oh, you see the same thing I see, and you're not even in existence.
There we go.
Oh,
then
that's fascinating.
We've managed to. Yeah, I can't.
We've discovered a bug.
There we go then.
Oh, that's really a bummer.
Yeah, I mean it's something that we had to figure out eventually. But did you add charges visible on the potions? That's
I did.
lovely. Yeah. I like that. Unfortunately, we're going to have to figure a way out of this. I think we've soft-locked it.
I think you may have to reboot here, boot out.
That's right. Oh boy, wait, I have 13 seconds to choose an action. I'm curious what's going to happen. 8 seconds to choose an action. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Oh boy. Get ready. Nuclear launch detected. And
that was unexpected.
All right, I have joined you.
Well, this is embarrassing, but welcome to opening night, guys.
That's right. Well, I mean, what it actually is, this is in beta and or early beta. So, what we're doing is we're trying to we're having a lot of fun finding these bugs. And here's the thing, if someone were to find one of these bugs, isn't there a GitHub that they could add issues on, I believe?
Yeah, if you go to the MedievaLands website, which is just MedievaLands with only one L, there's a link right up there in the menu for the GitHub.
Okay. Let's see here.
So
the question is, where did Alan go?
Oh, I dipped out. Restarted my game.
Yeah, he restarted his game.
I was like, how did you manage to leave? And the answer was close the program.
Yes, close the program, exactly. But yeah, this is definitely an interesting turn of events here that I was going to say.
Well, since you guys both left, I just dropped out of combat and I'm fine. I'm just sitting here in the dungeon.
Yes, you are. Now I'm going to restart the program. Let's see here. Application's up to date. Okay.
So I'm just recreating all of these issues in GitHub right now. That'll give me something to work on this weekend.
Yes.
While I am social distancing here in my family, we've decided that we're not going to go out. We're not going to go visit any restaurants. We're not going to hang out with friends. We're just going to, well, for me, I'm going to be in here programming.
Yes. Oh boy. I mean, you've done a great job, so give me a second to hop back in. Alright. Upper entrance. And here we go. So what we want to do, now that we're all here, Con, join Alan. Then I will join Alan afterward. Okay.
Is there a quicker way to do that than click on the map and then all that?
Not. I mean, it would be cool if you could right-click on the person, then click to join. But you know, that would be the same functionality.
Okay. It was just a little bit counterintuitive to have to click on the map to join the party, but okay, I understand this is...
It's... what's available?
There's definitely been a lot of UX improvements in games. That's the thing that's changed more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because if you think of like World of Warcraft, EverQuest, like they're basically the same as the old games we used to play back in like 1990.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're gorgeous now. They've been polished.
All right, Alan, why don't you go to the left corner there, get us into the gauntlet, and yeah, so...
Speaking of polish, Zane, I noticed that you added, like, damage numbers in the battles. Was that you, or was that Twinion at the time?
No, that's definitely me. I'm trying to make it a little, and the term in game development is juicy. I'm trying to make it have more feedback for the player. Because as I watch people who play, and I can see some limited analytics, a lot of people will join and they'll like play, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 battles, and when they die, they just say, oh, okay, well, that was a fun experience, but I'm done now. And I'd like to make it more of a game that, I don't know, people want to come back to.
I understand that. I think a lot of that would be in encouraging interactions, getting people to work together. A lot of games purposefully make it very difficult to die early on. Con, you may want to drink one of your their health potions.
Now, see, Zaric, how did you do that? How did you go behind Alan?
No, only I can go behind Alan. But
well, I know, but
yeah.
I mean, how
clicked,
did you move?
I clicked behind him.
Okay.
Yeah, if you
you just highlight the square.
Yeah, you just click on the square, exactly. So, I'm going to... What are you attacking, Alan?
I am attacking the one right in front of me.
Okay, well, I'll go for the one to the right, then. There we go.
Well, a health potion was used, but the wizard was faster.
Yes, the wizard is faster. Exactly. Oh, boy. Alan, you're going to have to heal, or you're going to die. It's that simple. So, oof. And now I am at the front of the battle. So,
oh dear.
Yes. This may work, this may not. It looks like I've killed one. And I've killed... Oof. I resisted the wizard's spell, so... I resisted again.
Oh, may the odds be ever in your favor.
There we go. I win. Everyone else is dead. I've reached level 2.
I like how you can just carry our corpses around through the dungeon.
Can I, or do you guys just get booted? That's a good question. Is that how is because in the vanilla game, I seem to remember you have to use a resuscitator. And did you start with a resuscitator in the vanilla game? I believe you did, actually.
That might be actually helpful.
Yeah, I believe you did start with a resuscitator. Even then, it wouldn't help the individual people who are who are, again, they play for a little bit, they die, and then they get kind of put off by it. Like a resuscitator, the resuscitator's a good function. Yeah, I can't go anywhere while the leader's dead.
So the leader can make you a leader, but you're not going to be able to resurrect them.
Okay, so let's do that. Alan, make me a leader. Okay. It seems like the person who's still alive should... yeah, I'm going to try to flee. There we go. Oh, wow. Okay, well, I am committed to this battle then. Oh,
that
boy.
was a mistake.
Is it a mistake? Or is it the best thing ever? As I immediately destroy one of them. Okay. So... I'm still contemplating the depth of my failure here, as I desperately try to escape. So, I almost think that the earlier parts of the game should really be a bit easier to flee from, perhaps.
No, I'm definitely seeing the issue here.
Yeah, I think that I just think the first. I would say in Yserbius, you get the mines, the Hall of Doors, and the soldiers' quarters. And I think that if you had an almost guaranteed flee in those locations, at those newbie areas, as it were, it would probably encourage players to stick around a bit more, where they could, more reliably get away, be like, okay, I have to go and heal or whatever, and then ease them into the pain, which the pain comes, obviously. But I'm just, very, very cautious at this point, as I'm trying to stay alive, and I'm trying to flee every round, and it's not quite landing. So I did manage to kill the bat. I did manage to get a buckler, which I will sell because I have no other purpose, use for it. I assume they don't get loot because they're dead?
That would be the case, yeah.
See, that is very, very unfortunate. And again, I got into another round of combat with the same people. Can't flee. So, my immediate thing is, well, what do I do? Gonna have to do this, potion dead. So that's it. I was killed as well.
See, I
these
was going
games
to
were
suggest...
so punishing back in the day. Sorry, go ahead, Con.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to suggest to Zaric that maybe we had gone in the wrong direction or something, because my perception of this was that we're not supposed to be where we're at.
Well, that's just it. I have a very clear memory of going in there first, grinding those mobs, and then moving on to the next area from there. Like, I may have only beaten this game once, but I played it several times, and I remember those halls being pretty decent. So I'm curious about this whole situation. Admittedly, the times when I replayed Twinion, I no longer had access to an online version of it. So, this game does multiply the number of enemies based on the number of party members. So my perception of it was born via a single player.
And especially if you're the sole remaining member of your party, you'll find that you're facing an untold number of foes.
That's right.
So everybody, I hope you have allocated your skill and spell points, done your attribute points, you're ready to head back in. Okay,
so let's talk about attributes really quick then. There's information here which is pretty clear, apparently. So, strength is your chance to hit an enemy, defense protects yourself, agility reduces spell effects against you, and then initiative helps you attack before they attack. Now, because I'm a wizard and magic is my main thing, I didn't actually put any points into strength or agility. I focused on defense and initiative, but for the average character, I imagine it would be strength and defense. For the most...
Absolutely. So, actually, the game uses the exact same damage calculation from the original game. I tore it apart over the period of weeks, and I found the original hit tables buried in the executable, and I pulled that out. So it should be a very similar experience, including like your chance to do critical hits, etc., etc.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, spells. You earn these on a certain level-by-level basis as you, based on your class, right?
That's the case, yeah.
Okay. And I imagine that every class eventually gets all the spells? Roughly?
That was definitely the case in Yserbius.
Okay.
To tell you the truth, I never ventured outside of those gauntlets in Twinion.
Okay.
So, but my feeling is that they tried to make it a little more diverse in this game.
Right. Okay.
And by diverse, just for the watchers, what I mean is that they tried to make it a little more class-based. Mm-hmm. In the original Yserbius game, there's not really classes. There's a bunch of different characters, and as Zaric, you pointed out, everybody gets the same skills by the end of the game. So basically you have like a bunch of characters with the exact same skills, but some, like knights and barbarians, are going to be much stronger than others, like wizards, who are going to be forever capped in the amount of strength and dexterity they have.
Right. I was going to say that we should probably later on talk about some ideas to maybe correct that a bit later, because, I mean, you're basically remaking the game, so you have the ability to change things. At the same time, though, you can't change too much or you'll alienate the people who, want to come back to it. So it's a very interesting balancing act. But,
no, absolutely. And those people that are coming back are pretty much my player base.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So how long did it take you to make MedievaLands here? Okay,
so now some of the code, like the user interface code, comes directly from my re-implementation of the Ultima Online client. But if I'm going to include that code as well, and we're talking about 130,000 lines of code in total, I would guess about 3,000 hours.
Well,
now, the time I spent specifically on Yserbius, I built MedievaLands just with the original over a course of about 8 months between 2018 and 2019. So 8 months, non-stop development, every single hour I wasn't at work. That's Shadows of Yserbius. Now, Twinion took me only about an extra month and a half, but I also had to spend 4.5 months making it so that the server could run both games simultaneously with 2 different worlds, and yet sharing a single tavern and bulletin board system. It's kind of like World of Warcraft, where you have different instances, people experiencing the same game but having completely different worlds that they are inhabiting.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Now, you'll notice that in this case, Alan is he's the party leader, so he's guiding us to different locations, and then when I get into combat, there will be, I will get to make decisions, and even right now, I can go to my skill book and say there was a rune tapestry. I'd be able to click rune reading on it. Likewise, there'd be read tracks, detect trap, various other skills. So, as far as being able to do things, it's very convenient, I find. Let me ask you something. Something has changed here. There used to be 2 chests. Now there's just 1, and it's double-sized, I notice, the inventory. What's the story with that?
Well, I hated the original user interface in this.
Okay.
I wanted it to be very easy for you to quickly grab an item and not have to divvy it up between the 2 windows. And this is particularly the case when you had the loot window that would open up. You'll notice now that when you get loot, it's there in the same inventory window.
That's right.
And it just makes for so much a better experience. And now that this is done, and something that the players have been asking for since Yserbius came out, like maybe I can start to expand and start to add new inventory windows that are of similar size.
That would be interesting. At the same time, the game was balanced around the limitations of your inventory, so I could see things a bit spiraling out of control if you could have every item in the dungeon. So and we've got a combat here. So what I'm going to do, I was going to say, it looks like Khan should dive behind because he doesn't have that much HP. He's absolutely wimpiest thief in the world. So yeah, dive behind Alan there, and I will shoot the wizard with lightning.
Okay, I also will attempt to stab the wizard while I run and hide behind Alan.
Yes. Well, I took the bulk of the damage there, so I'm going to drink a potion here. Let's see, there it is. And, yeah, just beat the crap out of things. I was going to say, you may need a bow if you're going to be in the back row. That's something you may need to switch to as a ranged weapon.
Now, he's a halfling, though, right?
Yeah.
You can just slither out between his, or out behind him.
Really?
Oh, interesting.
Huh. I had no idea that he was able to do that. Is that specific to this version, or is it something that was in the original game?
You are limited in whether you can attack the back row of enemies, but if you're standing in the back row of allies, you could still attack from there.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Phalanx. Oh, nice. We all leveled up. That was very nice. Let's go ahead and leave. What's the lock there on the top? I see a lock next to the name. It disappeared.
That means that they have loot windows open.
Oh.
In the original game, when you moved, the loot window would just disappear.
That's right. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Okay, Alan, get us out of here. We need to go back. Oh, wait. Oh, here we go, then. Let's do the fight.
I actually remember we ran into that loot window issue a number of times in our previous run.
Yes, we did. Are you going to kill the knight?
Yeah, let's go for the knight, I guess.
I'm gonna shoot the knight. The duelist. That's.
You guys are looking pretty beefy compared to where you were when you were starting.
That's right. I've leveled up once, and they've leveled up. I leveled up twice. They've leveled up once. So everything is looking a lot better in just mere moments. Got a leather cap. Go on.
I was going to say, I ended up reading one of those things on the wall, and it said that to the east was the Gauntlet Droit, which is where we are, that had a start to the adventure. Yeah. So I decided to go to that one.
Yeah, you'll notice that there's a couple orphaned pixels on the edge of this, cap here. It's full of, yeah.
That is a shadow from the original game. Oh, what's up with that? Oh, I see that.
Yeah. Just a couple pixels there. And it's very difficult to see, but I'm running the game on a big monitor, and so it's blown up so that all the pixels are exaggerated for myself. Try to flee if you can.
You know where that goes? Right into the GitHub.
And there we go.
No good on the flee.
No good on the flee. Okay, well then in that case I'm gonna kill wizards.
Focusing wizards as well.
Yep. We got the wizards. Excellent. Guess we should kill the panthers next. Very good. Well then, we've done it. Let's go ahead, now that we're all level 4, let's leave this section, go back to the guild hall, so we can allocate our stat points, which is very important.
It's amazing what incredible suffering level 1 was, and then like level 2 is a whole new world.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And
I was listening to some game developers talk about a similar issue recently, and what they were talking about was randomness in combat outcomes. Oh yeah, allocate some of those lightning points. If there is a 1 out of 100 chance that you're going to die when you face an enemy for the first time, like 99 people are going to have a great experience, but that one person is just going to have a really crappy experience where they just cannot even start the game and they're going to quit immediately. And I can see that that was happening to you guys as well. I wonder if newbie characters shouldn't get just a tiny bit of a boost, like just a booster seat to give them a seat at the table.
I mean, yeah, as I said earlier, you know, I was suggesting maybe you should have a higher chance to flee in the newbie areas because, you know, that is a problem. But also, I guess I'm almost thinking about a health boost, like a universal health boost in the beginning that is compensated for as you level up. In other words, your first level up wouldn't give you as much HP as subsequent level ups because you started with that health boost. And that would make level 1 a lot easier if you could tank a couple extra hits, I think.
And that would do it without changing the fundamental balance of the game at the higher levels, which is really what I'm trying to preserve.
Yeah. I do think that there's absolutely room to change the game for players who have actually beaten the big bad and the big main quest. I think that if there's any chance of longevity beyond just you know, redoing the same content over and over, it's going to be in changing the balance later on. But I think we could probably talk about that later on today. I'm skimming down your document you've provided about all the different things you've been you know, you wanted to talk about, and you know, I hopped in the Imagination Network back in I think it was, let's see, it was released in
1989, I think. Maybe, does that sound right?
I mean, Fates of Twinion was 1993.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think about 1991, 1992 was when I got into the Imagination Network, and I was only there for a year or two. But I think Twinion was the last year I played it. And I only beat it once, and then I never quite got past the starting levels again since then. And that was because Twinion is something you just need other players to really enjoy. Otherwise, it's a puzzler. Like there's a lot more puzzling in Twinion than there is in Yserbius, I find. And so Yserbius is something where I remember the Elven Kingdom. I remember getting the Flex Sword. I remember all those things.
Classic moments.
Yeah, I don't remember too much other than the Otherworld Gate and stuff like that. Like I have vague memories of my first run through Twinion, but that was on my 486X computer, you know, back Intel. Oh boy. Con, where are you?
Oh, well, I just wanted to ask real quick, what's the difference between defense and agility in terms of the tooltip makes it seem like they both effectively reduce damage?
Nope. Agility is magic damage.
So that's only for magic damage, okay.
Yep. You need to dodge spells, you need to tank hits, basically.
Okay, I'm coming back in. I just wanted to know where to distribute my points there.
Yep. All right.
So, I mean, you remember from Yserbius where it's the classic story of a corrupted king, a evil wizard, and a time elemental from the, you know, unknown beyond, right?
Yes. Eldritch Horror.
There we go. That's about right. So, Twinion is all about the king's, you know, benevolent daughter, Eowyn. Never heard that name before. Eowyn, who's come back to Twinion to, you know, save her people. And she's decided that she wants to see if she can figure out where those other elementals live. And that's where she tasks the players with going into the dungeon and discovering them.
Yes.
With no nefarious intent whatsoever.
That's right. She has done nothing wrong ever. I need Lord Woodborn in the chat, anyone who's a subscriber. He's the villain of Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. Alright, so this looks like a bit more of a difficult encounter. So, we're gonna go... I'm gonna kill the wizards on the right.
I'll go for the other wizards.
Very good. We've taken down the wizards. Your health is kind of taken down, but that's okay too. I'm going for the right thieves.
You've got a good party composition now. Like you've got your DPS, got your tank there up in front.
Ooh.
Oh dear.
I am quite dead. I was smacked down quite hard. So, as you can see, when you hit these areas, you really get struck down at times. Yeah, I have memories of using control spells and things like that. If anything, I guess I would appreciate this a bit more if I could get loot. I mean, oh boy. Oh boy. I mean, Khan is absolutely soaring in EXP now compared to where he was, so this is pretty good. Let's see here.
Alan, are you attempting to flee?
I tried to flee and there was no go on that.
He can't, nah. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you about that booster seat option, as it were. But what I would do is I would I'd have it be kind of a thing that like the bonus would taper off, and then it would I would say by like maybe level what was the threshold where you enter the Thieves Guild in Yserbius?
So level 20 is where the game really opened up back then.
Yeah. I think by level 20 it should completely taper off by then, and there should be no difference at all between the vanilla game and the I forgot about my quarterstaff. There shouldn't be any difference between the vanilla game and this by level 20, I think. But by then, people would have already gone through, looking at Yserbius specifically, they would have already had to run the gauntlet of what the blue lockpick, the they'd have to have a. They would have started acquiring all of the Cleowen's lockpick, Cleowen's key, you know, all those little mini quests that you'd have to go and do in all the various areas. That they would have already interacted with those by level 20. They would have basically been seasoned adventurers by that point. I seem to remember in the
have had that nasty of experience of really feeling like this old school game is way too unbalanced for new, modern players to really appreciate.
Yeah, and I'd argue that we, as you said, balance. I think that a lot of the problems could be resolved by simply raising your starting stats a little bit, and then again taper off the gains as you reach the level 20. So by about level 15, it should be very closely resembling the original game, and then by level 20, it should be the original game. If we did like a kind of curve there. So what we're going to do now, yeah, I noticed that people are streaming. There we go. So and it's a good. It's like, hi, Ragnar says, is that Ragnar the Red by chance? I imagine. So let's see here. We got Alan. Asking Alan to join. Very good. So yeah, let's go back up there. Let's try to do this right. Obviously, it's gonna murder us, but that's fine. So
was pickpocketing a thing in Yserbius?
I know that lockpicking, like once you get your lockpicking skill maxed out, you don't need a lockpick anymore. But I'm trying to think, is there anything even close to stealing, and I'm blanking on this. I'm going for the
Because
wizards.
pickpocketing was very interesting. It says that you can even steal items from enemies in battle.
Yes,
So
that's the point.
I guess, like a boss, for example, has a key on them, and you could just take the key without having to kill the boss.
No.
Oh, I wish this is how it worked. That is such a cool idea. No, that's not how it works.
No. What it means is it adds to your loot pool once the battle ends. That's what it does.
Okay, so you get extra loot, basically.
Yeah, you get extra loot. So, return to the guild hall to improve skills. Excellent. So, what are the, yeah, we're doing, he's knight. He's not a warrior. He's not a barbarian, he's a knight. So there's a bit of a difference there. He's got his fencing bonus, which is amazing that shows now. I'm so glad that buffs show now. That's awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So, same with the item tooltips, right? The original game did not have item tooltips, and players, other players, they love seeing the buffs. They love the item tooltips. When they see that, they want more. They want to see the buffs on the monsters, for example. Okay. So they know, this monster is controlled. How much more time can I expect him to be on my team versus, switching over to the other team again?
Yeah. Well,
I think this is the biggest change that I've made to the game. And I've made some mechanical differences.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that has changed the game the most is the item tooltip, because here I'm directly affecting the loop between the player's mental model and the actual game, right?
That's right.
I mean, the original game kind of hid a lot of information from players.
That's
and
right.
It's kind of a clunky experience. You couldn't see debuffs, you couldn't see the amount of armor that an item had, and so people would say oh, well, this, item seems to add to my dexterity, so I'll wear that instead of, this thing that would actually be better for me.
I remember, click on my character, look at my stats, click on my character, look at my stats, over and over, and that was, that wasn't too pleasant an experience. It felt, as you put it, clunky. Now, back then, it was really cool figuring this stuff out, but nowadays, you should really just be able to skip the step and know that this adds to the stat without having to go through the convoluted procedure of looking at it. I agree.
I agree. That's why I added it. And yet, here we are, we're kind of changing the player's relationship to the game in a way which definitely was not possible back then.
Yes.
Is this a good thing? Players love it, and yet, when I start to toy with the background mechanics a little bit, like we're talking about adding a little bit of health, and I'm enjoying the conversation, but I think that a lot of people will get upset at that.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like I'm almost imagining you can make a classic mode character that would operate originally. That's a logistical nightmare as a programmer. I know, but I'm just saying, the way you click hardcore mode in, say, Diablo or whatever. I'm almost thinking about that, where, this is a classic mode character, operates the same.
Why call it classic? Why not just call it hardcore?
Yeah.
I think that would definitely appeal to some people. Yeah. I think that I don't know. I think some people would prefer that. Here's an interesting story. So the original game allowed you to, in the original game, you had all of your characters on your own computer, right?
Yes.
They were not uploaded to the server. Now this is bad on multiple levels, because now you can cheat your characters with a little cheater program called Vitamin F.
Yes. I was going to say, the moment you started saying cheat, I'm like, Vitamin F.
Well, yes. That's it. But that means that some players have actually saved their original characters from the original imagination across so many different computers and storage mechanisms. Yeah. And I had players ask me, can I import my characters?
No.
Well, I wasn't going to let them do it, of course. That would definitely damage the experience. But I've had people actually say, well, you know what? I'm going to go play on a different recreation. Yeah. And there is a different recreation, actually. It's called InBarn. It's a re-implementation of the original In server, and it's currently operating. I think it's inbarn.com. Yeah. Really cool project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense if you want an authentic one-to-one experience. You have to pick up the original client and do it, and I get why you'd want to do that. However, honestly, the value that this brings is whatever you decide to bring to the table as a developer. Really. Can you flee, Alan? Guess not.
It wouldn't let me. I forgot. I forgot I have to unmute.
Yeah, well...
Looks like we're facing off against the crazed barbarians.
The barbarian horde. Oh, boy.
Good luck, guys.
Oh, no.
Made it out just in time. Zaric's gonna die.
Oh, my. Okay. Just a heads up, Blessed improves your hit odds. It doesn't actually save you from anything. Oh my.
So because there are still those, original re-implementations out there, or implementations of the exact original game, and also you can play the single-player game still, I don't feel bad about starting to toy with the mechanics. I don't feel bad at all about that. Because if you want the original game, you can get it.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense to me. I love that idea. Let's see. True Seeing.
That was a small miracle.
Broadsword.
Han, that was a close one.
I know. Alan exposed me, and then I almost died. But luck was on my side. I have the Hobbit's luck.
There we go. That's lovely.
So I see someone in the chat, Sindar the Dragon, is asking if this is the classical trinity. I almost feel like you guys need a cleric.
Yeah, we really would want a cleric. Usually I play clerics. Both in this and in tabletop roleplay. I like the religious zealot character, and my favorite character to play in a tabletop is usually a cleric bard combo, multi-class. But yeah, I decided, you know what? In Yserbius, I was playing a knight. Let's go for the other extreme, and then that's why I went wizard. So. Yeah, it's looking pretty good as is. Admittedly, if I'm very close to death, so that's kind of annoying. But hey, if I level up, then this will be great. If I take one more hit, I'll die. It's okay.
Is it possible if I move up now, can you also move behind at the same time?
Nope, can't do it. Okay. We could coordinate it, kind of, but, oh boy. I'm just looking at the logistics of this. It's kind of scary. Staff. Why does... Oh, it's because I have the staff skill as a wizard. Okay. That's cool. But yeah. So, let's see here. Yeah, we were talking about the differences between the original client. You don't feel bad about changing things up now, because the in-barn exists, and as a result, people can still get that authentic experience, and as a result, you can work on making this better. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I absolutely see then that you would probably want to try to do something like a... I don't know. I sent you a document, I guess. Earlier, was it yesterday or the day before?
Yeah, you were really into like an end game experience.
Yes, but I also had a component that you could do at low levels. The what I called the daily bounties. And the idea behind it was simple. You just add an optional daily component that people could interact with, daily/weekly/bi-weekly, that people could interact with, and it would encourage other players to interact and try to find where the particular daily thing is, and talk about it, stuff like that. That the actual document, if I were to find it somewhere... here it is. Okay, yeah. I basically came up with an idea where you would create a character stat, if you clicked on, like, Alan here, you'd see a fame stat like over here or over here, somewhere around there. And the idea is the more of these you did, the higher your fame would go. And so you'd be able to see a leaderboard of the most active players who were doing this daily content, or weekly content, or whatever you want to call it. And that way people would have things to do even outside of the loop of actually playing this game. That way, once you finished killing the main big bad and you finished the quest, what is there left to do? You create a new character, or you help out other people. Like that's normal stuff. But in addition to that, you could have something to do for yourself. And I think that's where I think not necessarily my idea specifically, but some kind of implementation of that idea of there is more to do is what's going to separate this from something like InBarn, I think.
I love that idea. My favorite part about that is the idea where there's going to be some kind of metric that you can track yourself in which you can compare to other players. People love having some kind of stat that makes them better than other people, right?
Yes.
They love, and there is a specific kind of character out there that loves to have completed everything in the game and then wants to show it off.
Yes. That's right.
I'm reminded of a game on one of trying to remember here.
Hold on.
Oh, it'll come to me.
Hold on. I'm grabbing the battle taxonomy of players. Sorry, the Bartle system. Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. Let me really quick. There should be. I'm trying to find my.
Is this like the explorer, killer, tinkerer thing?
Yes, it is. Let me switch over to my standard camera. If I turn off this, let's see, big cam. Here we go. So I'm noticing that this is all falling down and exploding. So let me throw these three things into the big cam, then turn off big cam. Okay. If I hit this there, you can see killers, achievers, socializers, and explorers. And people generally exist somewhere in this spectrum. And I would say I'm closer to the socializers area, but I'm definitely in the achievers, explorers field, this side. Not the killer socializers section, but I'm more in the achiever, socializer, explorer corner here. That's where I would be. And
so achievers are those people who want to go out and complete every single thing in the world. They want those achievements. And then they want to show them off.
That's right.
I'm definitely in the explorer portion, which I think is more sort of try to figure out the world and how does the world work.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the bottom half there, looking at it socializer and explorer for sure. And it's funny because I've always been in MMOs, I've always been on the PvP servers and being really engaged with guild PvP. But that's because PvP in that universe is a type of socialization in a lot of these games.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, I'm not really in it for the killing. I'm not the Poner ganker type.
Hey,
I just wanted to.
Con, can you unlock this?
Oh, we have a locked door.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have enough points in locked door?
I was gonna say, if you have the level 12 lockpick, is level 12 the max? I think it's
level 12 is the max.
Yeah. So if you have level 12 lockpick, our party won't need lockpicks anymore as an item, because you'll just completely replace the concept of the lockpick at that point.
Now it's funny, I was expecting to have to choose lockpick and then click on the door to activate it, but I didn't need to. I just need to click the ability.
This isn't a point-and-click adventure game. It
automatically... You're in the room. The room has the door in front of you. Just use the ability.
Yes, exactly. There aren't any rooms where there's multiple things to lockpick, so it just kind of expects that of you. I mean, imagine if we were to run off my concept of like a daily bounty or something. Imagine if you had an elite bounty where it's recover this from a chest and the chest is locked and you have to use the lockpick. It just, you know, put the flag as, oh, there's a locked door here, but there's no actual door. And so you just use the lockpicking skill in that room and it would trigger. Thanks for the mana potion, by the way.
You're very welcome.
Hey, Alan Bo, congrats on 7.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it would be nice, I think, in Guild to be able to see people's level up messages, maybe, or have that be an option. That would be nice to be able to see as other people, other people ding, because then everyone else could go, congrats.
So this is a great experience. Like, I'm enjoying watching you play. I'm taking down your notes, and I think that these are features that are going to make it into the game.
Nice. Okay, so what are we attacking where? And from now on, by the way, Con, I'm going to be the one diving behind, because you are now the tankier person, now that things are equalizing.
Yes, I think I am like a level or 2 ahead of you.
Yes.
I'm going to smash the wizard in front of me.
I'll shoot lightning at the left ones. There we go. That'll do it.
I just gotta... Is there sound effects now for critical hits? That's pretty nice. Or did everybody get that sound effect? Was that like a
sound
spell?
effect? There was a spell that went off.
Okay.
Yep. This is good though. Yeah, let's go back to this list though. So, looking at this, yeah, we definitely went over the idea of. I'm gonna shoot the one wizard in the back row after I like dive behind.
Oh, they're getting smarter. They're hiding from you.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna shoot the wizards. Very good. That'll do it. We were talking about how the original game was basically a peer-to-peer system, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So the way it worked was it connected players using this service called Telnet, and not the protocol, but an actual program or a company called Telnet.
Yes.
And you have to recognize that back in like 1991, there just was not enough processing power to do anything more than just shuttle messages around, basically.
Yes.
And so your actual messages, which you would exchange, if I read the original executable code, which I decompiled down to x86, which we can talk about more, and that's where the map scripts come from, actually, from the original game. So what was I saying there?
You compiled
you're exchanging like little bytes at a time, and the byte would be like, I am here, and this is my ID, and now I've moved over here. But that meant that if you wanted to, cheat yourself to like areas of the map that otherwise weren't passable, you could easily do that just by sending bytes to people.
That makes sense. And yeah, so I know Fallout 76 is a game that's running right now, and its biggest problem is the server believes whatever the client tells it.
You can always trust the player.
Yes, you can always trust the player. So, as a result, there are people who, a forceful wind pushes your party back. It howls. You must, you must each step forth alone. Oh boy, that's exciting.
Do you want me to drop party and just see what happens if I go forward by myself?
Yeah, Alan, you're the tank. Why don't you go first?
Go on, Alan. A drop group and give it a try. Oh boy, this is gonna be exciting. So, what happened to you?
And there was
I'm teleported to the bottom area.
Okay.
Like, I'm in the bottom section
Con,
of the map.
hit E twice on your keyboard. The E button. Con. There we go. Incredible. And you know the best part? He wasn't even there with us. Sorry, we did that as a group. We did
Yeah, that was interesting. I guess the forceful wind was just for the first guy, and then the wind got tired.
The wind got tired. Yes, we managed to flummox it by having one guy drop, go do it, and then we were considered alone somehow by the system. That was amazing. Okay, I'm joining Alan. There we go. Yeah, only the first guy felt the forceful wind. Con, jump into the group.
You know, I was half expecting something rather painful.
Yeah, so was I. I admit I don't remember too much of this game. Because, again, I've only beaten it once, whereas I've beaten Yserbius several times. What's it called? Oh, God, I almost used Tamriel Rebuilt. No, in Revival. I played I played it originally, then I played it once offline, then I played it once in Revival, and talking about Yserbius. Then Twinion once, just once. So all right, I'm gonna zap the vampire bats. I'll leave you guys to get the wizard and barbarian.
So we were just talking about the peer-to-peer nature of games like Fallout. The Fallout game that we were talking about.
Well, Fallout 76. The weird thing about it is, it's supposed to be a client-server setup, but then the client-server believes whatever the client tells it. Like, the server will just believe it. So if you were to tell the client, or you would tell the server, I take all this person's items. It just goes, okay, you take all that person's items. It's like, but there's no mechanic for that in the game. You know, the server just goes, nope, all items are taken. So all your items disappear because someone else's client said, I take those items. Because someone, hacked the client, basically, to give that...
It's astounding to me that they could actually get it so wrong and be so bad with a client-server game like that that's supposed to be a persistent universe, too, on each of the servers.
It's supposed to be.
And I don't want to malign those developers, because everybody makes choices for the right reason for them. However, they did it to save money. Like, it would have cost them so much more money to have, a server that could do error checking on the fly.
I very much suspect it isn't, it's man hours, specifically. I suspect that most of the issues came in the fact that they had limited time, and they did what they could in what little amount of time they had. That's my suspicions for that particular game. We don't need to talk about Fallout 76 too much in a discussion about this. However, it's just something that, obviously, if my client says, I teleport over to here, I imagine your server would go, no you don't.
And yes, I do have that. Also, you are not allowed to touch any item that you are not the parent of. So every item has a parent, and that parent is the player that is holding that item. So if you try to grab another item, or grab an item that doesn't exist, I just return null.
Yeah, there we go then. Very good. Yeah, there's a lot of crunch going on here. I'm almost wondering if Alan doesn't have shield yet, or any spell like that. We'd probably have to go back to the guild to find out.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I have a few more points to distribute.
The battle music got quiet all of a sudden. As in, it stopped. That was interesting. Broadsword, quarterstaff, mana potion. Got plenty of mana potions. I'm gonna die, but hey, everything is fine.
Need one of those clerics, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Gave me an item. Well, thanks for the heal potion. That did most of my health. Okay, but yeah, so we basically established that You know, if someone wants the original game, they can use In-Barn. If they want the single-player game, they can play that too. And, you know, this one is not peer-to-peer in the same way. It's, oh, nice healing fountain. There we go. I'm glad I used that potion. Oh, my. But, yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say other than I'm very interested to see where this will go, because like you've got some really good features, and I think that if there were any kind of ongoing events or things, we could draw people in for it pretty easily, I think. And when I say ongoing event, I don't necessarily mean an in-game event, but, you know, something that is happening in one specific area of the dungeon that encourages grouping, something like that. You know, there's plenty of ways to encourage people to log on together and do things. So, here we go. I think we should...
Yeah. There have been some great ideas in the in-game bulletin boards. There's been talk of... So one of my major problems, which I talked about earlier, was that there's really no difference in Yserbius between, like, a knight and a wizard, except that a knight is much, much better. So how could we make a wizard, like, be better at casting spells without changing the underlying mechanics? There's been some discussion of things like increasing spell penetration so that it's harder to resist a wizard's spells. I think that's a great idea. Let's see. There have been talk about more ability to create items, like crafting stuff. I think that's really cool. Like, what if as you kill a bat, you could find bat leather and then turn that into some kind of marginally better item.
I wouldn't mind a crafting system in this as long as it's optional, as long as the core, the core game as it was, you know, still exists. It's not like you need that bat leather to progress. I mean, you need to craft the flex sword in order to win. So obviously there's some precedent there for crafting existing, but at the same time, I can't read those runes. I would need to buff that. I can see R-O-R. Yeah, I can see A's, O's, and R's right now.
It's something, the gauntlet, I'm assuming that is a useful item, but first you must enter the something to retrieve it. The gauntlet, That's about as much as I can read, because I had an item that gave me level 6 rude reading.
Oh, okay, it was an item. I was wondering if it was because you were a dwarf or something.
So anything craftable being purchasable is a plus. Yeah, you know what?
Maybe we should talk about that.
Talk about what?
The idea of having versus things that are always available from the merchants.
Well, when we were talking about merchants, what I was thinking of, what my head immediately went to is, okay, those trading bars, let's get rid of that, and let's just be able to trade currency. And once we're able to trade currency, give us a trade window. And once we get a trade window, be able to have crafted items traded to other players for money. That's what I was thinking of. Just have a trade window. Someone would craft an item, or someone would give ingredients to someone else, and that person could craft and then trade it back. You know, basic mechanics of multiplayer games. And so you just kind of add ingredients. And what I would do is, you know, this extra bag slot that's gone, this one over here, what I would do is I'd make that the craft bag. And only crafting ingredients go in the craft bag. That way you have the regular bag on one side, you got the craft bag on the other. And that way... You know, he said, let's see, okay, crafting could be balanced by giving it some kind of advantage for certain playstyles to min-max numbers without giving overwhelming you win the game advantage. See, what I would do is I would find a way to gate your ability to use certain pieces of gear based on level, for example. And I'm talking not the normal in-game gear, because the normal in-game gear is gated based on when you're able to acquire it.
Mm-hmm.
But because crafting ingredients, you could, in theory, get them at any time, I would just say, okay, well, this particular piece of gear is a level 12 item, so you got to be level 12 or higher to use it. That's how I would deal with that. And it would be exclusive to crafted gear. Just basically, okay, well, you're level 12. Looks like you could use this item that can be used at level 12 or above, you know. And oddly enough, the crafting ingredients could match that. Like, the mines could drop a specific tier of gear, whereas the Thieves Guild could drop another tier of gear. I say gear, I mean ingredients. And doing that, you could, someone of the appropriate level would be able to gather the ingredients that would make the crafted items. And they would be, say, I don't know, like 10% better than the equivalent gear you'd find in the area. So, at the end of the day, we'd want it all to normalize at max level. Once you finish once you've finished the game, and that's where my idea for event / bounty gear came in, because that's where you get people to keep playing the game for an enduring amount of time.
I love this. I think that the level gating is a great idea. And, it's an idea that was shared by, I think it was Reginald on the in-game servers as well.
Yes.
I mean, it does kind of like easily take care of that problem where you don't want to twink somebody, right?
Yeah.
Up to the point where they're just so much more powerful than an equivalent character. I don't know. Yeah, these are great ideas. It's just a small matter of programming them, right?
Yeah. So, trading system, yeah, exactly. Then, reagent drops by monsters, crafting bag. Like, it's basically, you could view this as a tree. Like, and it starts at the trunk, and then it branches out into all these different features. But they all serve the original purpose of giving players more things to do and having gear that's slightly better than the equivalent leveled area, basically. And yes, ideas are easy, but they often don't take into account the amount of work they require. Absolutely. That's the entire point, is you say ideas are easy, but in fact, how do I put this? The right idea to fit the right situation is often overlooked, as in a lot of people will have the means but not the inspiration, and vice versa. So you'll find that's why humans work together in teams.
I dig it. So if I can provide some insight here, one of the things that you'll need to do these kinds of reagent drops is to design the treasure tables. Like, for example, in Diablo 2, every single monster you kill has a treasure table.
Yes.
And let's see. So what kind of effort would it take to invent one of those? Well, I recently put treasure tables into the game. You will find that in Yserbius, not in Twinion yet, there are new items being dropped that were never available in the original game.
Yes.
Took me probably, about 2 weeks to rewrite the item system to handle that, and then 3 days to add the idea of treasure tables.
Well, the fact that you already have treasure tables means that if you wanted to create a new item that served no purpose, it would just be like dragon scale or whatever, you could do that tomorrow. You could make an item called dragon scale. It served no purpose until you programmed in the purpose, but you have the functionality to drop new stuff already. That's really great. I'm going to hit the right thief. I'm paralyzed. It hurts.
Do we have any way to exit the dungeon immediately and then come back to our spot? I know we were doing that in Yserbius.
Once we get out of here, I will be able to put points into teleport, and then I will be able to teleport us whenever we want. But I can't do that because teleport currently costs 50, and I don't even have 50. So,
I don't know how I keep moving when I'm not clicking a square.
yeah. Are you paralyzed?
No, I'm not paralyzed. No, I don't know how I keep moving.
Yeah, apparently he keeps moving over somehow. For some reason, he can't tell. That's nice. You can purchase a teleport pass. Yes. You can buy it in the hall there. I'm still paralyzed. Oh, boy. Okay.
Of course you're paralyzed when you're dead.
Yes. Now I'm quite dead. Yeah, well, I've been paralyzed the whole time, my point is. Yeah, so. Right.
How does a teleport pass work real quick? Because I just got one.
Oh, use the item right now from your inventory. There we go. Very good. Let me see here. Defense. And initiative, but definitely defense. And then teleporto. Yeah, we're just putting most of our points into that, and then some more into lightning. That's fine.
So I think your friends are going to be able to travel back down to where they left using the bottom dungeon entrance, but you, being dead, will not have been able to.
Correct. So we won't even try that, really. We'll go through the top. Which makes sense. Also, now I'll be able to afford proper potions, which is great. That's something that I couldn't do before. But now that I have 5,000, I should be able to afford potions, which is delightful. Absolutely delightful. So, also I can buy a breastplate, which, no, I cannot. That's too expensive. Silk cloth jacket, however. Wait, what's the difference? Huh. This looks new. Or is this new to Twinion? Or new
That is new to Twinion. It is not new to MedievaLands.
Okay. So, less armor. Yeah. Okay. Let's buy that jacket, I guess. Now, let's buy some health potions. Elixirs, yes. Alright, that should help out. See, yeah, did the prices get rebalanced in Twinion? Because
They did, yeah.
Yeah, these Sovereign Scrolls look a bit pricey, which is good, considering Sovereign Scrolls broke the game. Now, however, you've added a duration on the control. I remember control affecting for the entire battle, so it was just like, okay, use Sovereign Scroll. Fight over. I win. That's how the old game worked. It was literally use Sovereign Scroll, spam death darts. That was the game.
It's a point of contention between me and some of the players on this game. I mean, players like that overpowered thing, but in my mind, it really reduces the number of choices that you can make while you're playing, right? Well, because if the win button is a control scroll, then of course you're always going to do that first thing in the game. Well, why don't I make it so that you can choose control or choose, other options?
Yeah. No, I honestly, if you don't have a set of best choices, and there is no quote-unquote best choice, then there is, at that point, choice doesn't matter. You need to have at least a couple bad choices in your game design, otherwise people can't choose wrong. And that is actually, when you look at a game where it's like, well, this is all the same, basically. It's like, oh, do I want to shoot him with the pink lightning bolt, or do I want to hit him with the red hammer? It does the same amount of damage, so what does it matter?
Right. So, but what if they had different tactical options, right? What if there were multiple ways of winning? Now we're talking.
Correct. Absolutely. But my point is that it's a balancing act, because you've got there's only one option which will win, versus your choice doesn't matter because all options will win. See, that's the that's the problem, and that's why ultimately there should be one or two best options with several other viable but less good. The main problem at what we're looking at here, and something where we want to possibly change things from how medieval, God, what was it called? How the original Imagination Network worked was, this is a true multiplayer experience. You can't play MedievaLands offline. Therefore, it should probably cater more toward groups than it should single players. And that's why I suggested in the bounties option, only one solo-friendly one, and the other two were group-oriented. That's why I suggested that. Because at the end of the day, the whole point of that bounty system that I suggested was to encourage people to get into groups. And I see this one player there saying hello and just kind of sitting around there waiting for people to play with. I totally get that. However, at the same time, that's why you would have these events to encourage people to specifically group together. Because otherwise, what advantage does this have? It has a few more modernized things, but really the point of this is to get people to gather together in a group, I think. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it should be prohibitive like like some other games. What was it, Final Fantasy XI? Oh boy, no reason to play the game at all if you're alone. I'm just gonna get rid of these. But there should be a balance. That's all I'm saying. And I feel like abilities like Control, for example, completely remove that reason to be in a group, because you can just hit Control on the massive amount of enemies and win. And besides, if you're in a group, you're more enemies. It's going to be a harder battle as a result. It's fun when you get a full group together and you're playing and having fun. But really, there's only so much to it that you can do. I'm trying to figure out how I would do this. I guess at the end of the day, I'd try to make bounty targets immune to control, things like that. Whereas I'd leave the vanilla game mostly alone. That's what I would do. Is again, all of the optional like group-oriented content where you'd get those kudo points, the quote-unquote fame, and you'd get the those unique items that are specific to the bounties. Again, that would be the carrot, and the stick would be the lack of control and other easy to win. Like let's add an extra spell that only bounty targets could use called Spell Ward, where they can ward themselves to say one spell specifically, and this one is Spell Ward Death Darts,
which is for the subscribers one of the most damaging spells in the game. It's a win button for many circumstances.
That's right. So what I'm saying is, this particular bounty target has a spell ward of Death Darts, meaning that Death Darts doesn't work on it. It's strong-willed. We'll create a trait called strong-willed, and anything that's strong-willed, control won't work on it. And these would be specific to bounty targets, not the general game. Like, we don't... in my mind, because when I say we, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about my little the space between my ears, not anyone else's. We don't want to mess with the vanilla game experience too much, but at the same time, you create branching options out of it that encourage people to get into the game world, engage with the game world, play it, and then while they're and that they come for those other experiences, but then they enrich the whole by jumping in for those initial things. Basically, they're around because they're doing the bounty. Therefore, they're here to help other players, and it gets people engaged. That's all I'm saying. And
it's just a simple matter of programming, right?
Yeah, it's a simple matter of programming your own video game within another game. It's let's be honest here. It's the logistics of what I'm describing is basically building your own video game inside of the game at this point. That's Admittedly, would be a colossal feather in your cap if you pull it off, but you know, at the same time, it's definitely quite a bit of work, I imagine.
You know, while we're on the subject of programming, and I see you're in a bit of a down moment right now as you wait for Khan to come back.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have been here actually, and I am standing on the spot, but I actually don't see anybody in my local players.
I see you when I click View Others, but
yeah, I see you.
Can't see us.
Okay.
No, players in local area is empty for me.
Khan, do you want to leave the dungeon and see if that fixes it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
I had actually done that, but let's try that again. And I'm back, and View Others, nobody.
Huh.
Nobody.
Let me try moving forward.
I need to join, so you can't invite me.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to join.
Huh, well, I can't see anybody. Let's try to restart the game, I guess.
Hold on a second. You still here?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's see. Yeah, I can't even challenge you to a fight.
So yeah, can you join, can you join Khan's party, and then Khan could make someone else the leader?
I'm curious to see if, I'll see about... Okay, it looks like I can, join Khan's party there. And hello, Khan. You're in a loot window, according to this.
Interesting. I am not in a loot window. Although, what I noticed, what happened was, when I entered the dungeon for the first time, I was holding a cure potion on my cursor.
That's very interesting.
Were you using a cure potion when you teleported out?
You know what? Yes, when Alan used his teleport, I was managing my loot.
There we go. So you managed to keep the cure potion as your cursor through the transport, and it managed to lock you into a loot window through when you came back into the dungeon, and now you're.
And now I'm in some parallel dimension where I'm always juggling cure potions.
Oh my god!
And
what
nobody
has been
can see
going
me.
on? Yeah. You know what? I am watching the server's terminal output, and I see error. Khan sent a packet that was meant to be handled by the dungeon routines, but he's in the street. Therefore, I'm canceling this packet. I am so sorry. It looks like, yeah. I don't know.
Log off, log back on, Khan. Yeah. It's time for you to go home. Don't worry about it. We got this. We got this.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's definitely a bug, and I think it would be reproducible, which is the best kind of bug, right? The worst kind of bug is where you have no idea what's going on.
Inconsistent bugs are the worst bugs. I understand that.
Okay. So, while I start to add this bug report in GitHub, I saw that JP Ulysses in your chat had an idea. If we scroll up a little bit, can you generate new enemies with dynamic skills and difficulty? And this reminds me of Oblivion, when I used to play that game, because the enemies would like level up with you. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's so much appropriate for this game. So just to draw back the curtain a tiny bit, in this game, every monster is built from a template. And every map has 40 monster templates that it can draw from. 24 of them are going to be found in random combat. 16 of them are only going to be in the set piece encounters, which myrtleized Zaric's party earlier. Honestly, I'm very hesitant to start to tinker with those kind of mechanics because I don't really understand them as well as I do other parts. Like, it's interesting, like, the code in this is entirely new. It's 130,000 lines of code, but the data comes from the old game, and, you know, I have not done the modeling like I'm sure the original designers did, where they, you know, modeled out, you know, like, well, how many points of dexterity? I'm hypothesizing that they did this. How many points of dexterity should a knight have at level 25?
Yeah.
Teleport out while holding a loot item. leads to, so this is me writing the issue into GitHub.
Yep.
I'm really glad I'm not the only one that will say what they're typing out loud.
Yes.
Well, I got a one-track brain. I can only do one thing at a time.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
It's funny that Shadowrun said it's like a Star Trek episode, but it really is. Like, there was a transporter accident, and they're losing my image in the pattern buffer, and
Oh boy.
Scotty has to boost the signal before I disappear
Join
forever.
Alan. Join Con. Join Alan Con. But yeah. So as far as generating,
Is Alan here?
yes, Alan's here. I'm in his party.
I see Reginald where I'm standing.
Okay then, Alan leave the dungeon, come back. All right. So, Con, view others. What do you say?
There you go. Okay. Now you're both here. But
Yes.
that's odd. Were you really just standing there a minute
Yes,
ago?
I had joined his party and everything.
Okay.
So, I was gonna say that as far as balancing like monsters and stats and things like that, for the most part, it comes down to dumping the original data set and observing what they did. And then going, okay, well, let's tweak this slightly and see what happens. That's really the best way to approach it, is basically to just dump the original monster tables into like an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, and draw yourself a graph and figure out, okay, so this is the curve of power. Okay, well, this is the point at which it needs to be modified. We're going to add +1, you know, or -1. You know, and then you run it through the game and figure out, okay, this is what happened. It's a very touch and go. You know, it's not something you. I would not recommend you try to model out a brand new set of encounters and stuff like that right on the get-go. Rather, dress up existing encounters through slight modifications. That's my recommendation to you.
If anyone thinks that this sounds like fun, I have put every last bit of data from the original Yserbius on GitHub. If you go to the MedievaLands.com website and click on the GitHub link at the very top of that, it takes you to this GitHub repository called MedievaLands Public. That's where I'm posting bugs. But if you check the README, down at the bottom of the README there, it'll lead you to Zane W/Yserbius data. Every last bit of data from the original game, it's all there. All the textures, which have been upgraded to PNG format, all of the documents that I've written about how I think it works. If you're interested in like putting together your own game, this is a data set that could help jumpstart that.
Absolutely. But what the original idea, someone asked if we could create custom encounters and things like that. That's kind of the, you know, that was the idea with bounties in general, was, you know, you'd grab a snapshot of a particular encounter in the game, and you'd slightly boost the stats a little bit, and you'd put it into oh, Blade Master, thanks for subscribing. You take what would be normally a dead end in the dungeon, something that, you know, didn't have a purpose within the main quest, and you basically say, okay, well, he's accepted this bounty, so now he can interact with this particular target. And that would be a custom encounter, as that person put it. And but the thing is, I wouldn't recommend building an encounter from scratch. I'd recommend grabbing something that already exists and remodeling it. You know, there's really no reason to create whole new custom monsters, especially like. I imagine if you were to use your own graphics, it would look off-putting and different. You know, like the art style would probably clash. So you would want to use the same graphics. If anything, the only thing I'd recommend is maybe mixing and matching stuff from Yserbius, Twinion, and Cawdor. That's the only thing I'd possibly recommend doing. So you could pull some art assets in from, say, Cawdor, and they are close enough to where it wouldn't feel off-putting. But even then, there's no real need to do that when you already have the ability to, let's just say, because you've made your own renderer, obviously. The fact, so there's no reason you couldn't just put a slight red tint on an existing monster and say, this is a harder one now. and you know, plus 2 to the stats, basically.
Just use one of those. I'm looking at the monster templates for Twinion right now. There are a total of 690 of them from the original game.
Yeah. There we go.
So as I continue to build out all of these systems, eventually I'd like to start thinking about making my own game. And to a certain extent, like, I've always wanted to do that, but I know that I'm an okay programmer. I'm an okay enough programmer that I can put together a fun experience, or rather I can program a game engine, but I don't know how to design things. Like, I don't have that background at all. And so remaking games, I think that's why I do this over and over. Yeah. Because it allows me to build the engine without having to, you know, contract with an artist, get an English major like you to write the story, and then get a economist to design a game battle system for me. Like, you need all these roles, and I'm just the programmer.
Yeah, I completely understand that. It's why so many games these days, I think Khan can go on a tirade about this, the tide of quote-unquote pixel art that's going around, which is not real pixel art. Not the thing, like, if you were to open up an SNES game and you were to look at actual pixel art, it looks amazing by comparison to these indie games that are called pixel art, but what they actually are is placeholder programmer graphics.
People who don't want the cost of hiring an artist to do actually good pixel art and or any kind of 3D graphics.
Yes. And so that's kind of the result. Instead of getting actual, you know, well put together art like this, you get, what's a good example, Con?
Oh, any number of indie games. Most recently, I mean, oh Jesus, where to even start? Blasphemous, I think, had kind of very standard, like 1 pixel for an eye kind of garbage going on.
Blasphemous actually had some really disturbing stuff it put together. I think Blasphemous was far better than, let's just say, most most indie games. So no.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't mean to single out Blasphemous because I haven't played it. There's just so many of these. It's impossible to even keep track of mentally. It's like the default pixel art is the bad pixel art.
Yes.
Because obviously it's the cheapest.
I mean,
and
anything
like,
with
I've started to contract with artists as I start to add features here. They're expensive. They're expensive, and like, they're expensive, and the best people in the world that you want working on your game, nobody can afford them. Yeah.
I occasionally talk to a person who does logos, and you know, he charges about $1,000 a logo. It's like that's just the cost that people will pay. And
I bet you he's good at it, which is why he can charge that higher cost.
Yep.
Now, see, somebody called out Undertale, and I think Undertale does not fit in with this criticism, because Undertale has an overall aesthetic that minimalism fits. It's more like an Atari almost kind of appearance. Where what we're talking about is you have Undertale-style characters placed against a world that has complex lighting graphics from the engine and like sun shafts, but they're all like Undertale kind of characters, and that don't fit into like this kind of modern, semi-realistic backdrop that the rest of the world takes place in.
Yep.
Well said, I agree.
Hey, Con, you want to unlock this door real quick?
Oh, okay. I need
mean,
to pay attention to that chat box.
I mean, honestly, you've built so much of this already that you could, if you were to build some, build original monsters, contract with artists, you could create a legally distinct version of Yserbius pretty easily using your existing work as a base. Let me go ahead and play this clip really quick. Oh wow, it doesn't play. Interesting. You see, I hit this button.
At least that bug is not mine.
Yes, it's in my stream deck. It's not playing a specific clip. It's supposed to have this guy come out and go, "We resemble but are legally distinct from the Lollipop Guild," but no, it didn't do that. So
yeah, so I mean, and of course, one can consider
yes.
To what extent is this game infringing? Obviously, the graphics, obviously the map scripts. That might be it. Maybe, possibly the data.
I was gonna say the data sets as they were originally written. If you imported them directly, you're gonna have to rewrite them. However, the actual data concept, you cannot copyright or trademark game mechanics.
Yeah, that is true. As an attorney, I can tell you that's the
yes,
case, but I'm not your attorney. So guys, don't listen to me.
No, all you have to say is this is not legal advice. That's it. You just, this is not legal advice.
Don't listen is taking it another step further.
Yeah, don't listen is kind of stupid, to be honest. Like that, you don't say something that you don't want people to listen to. That's that's counterintuitive. So, simply, this is not legal advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. That's how you. That's the bog standard disclaimer you use when they haul you into court. Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Magnificent carving. Right now, there's too much to do. I love that. Oh boy. But yeah.
Well, that's another thing that I wish this game was better at, is there's not really a lot of guidance, right?
Yeah.
And perhaps that's just me thinking wistfully back to World of Warcraft, but they always kind of gave you an idea of what you needed to do next. Now, of course, in the non-classic version, they really do hold your hand,
yes,
take you from place to place. But in the original, like, it at least told you, like, hey, you need to go find this guy's wife, right?
Yeah.
Which is why in Baron's Tab you'd see everybody asking, like, hey, where is that dude's wife?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You've absolutely changed things up when you added those achievements. Like, now people know pretty much the main chunks of the main quest, you know, that you look at all the achievements that exist in the game now. What do you call them? Deeds or feats? Something like that. And once you've added those, you've already removed a lot of the mystery as it is. So I think that the word you're looking for is conveyance. That's what they use in game design to basically how a player is guided from one area to another. Like if you're just wandering around going, what do I do? Where do I go? That's bad conveyance at that point. So the idea behind that is, how do we know that we need Cleowen's lockpick? Well, we don't. We have no idea why this is important. We just pick it up, and there was a quest satchel, you know, that was supposed to hold our quest items. So we just, you know, but intuitively I knew, okay, well, I got to shove this thing into my quest item sack, I guess. And so it just kind of sat there. Unfortunately, I started using my quest item sack for other stuff, and that's where, you know, I was looking at, do I really need to keep this? And things get a bit insane. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about this other than the idea of having to figure out what is where, I actually like that a lot more than World of Warcraft's, let's just say, very directed story, I guess, because like, oh, I've got to go to this location and do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's that exploration I talked about, because remember, I'm more of an explorer than I am an achiever or a killer, so it comes down to me going, okay, well, I guess well, I'm paralyzed again. This is fun. So
Just take a back seat here. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, a little bit of guidance would be nice.
Yeah.
The game doesn't offer any in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
The thing you pointed about Cluen's lockpick, like,
Yeah.
why should a player even keep that? It's not even usable as a lockpick in most doors. It's just usable like for the occasional, specifically like map scripted door.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So I think that I actually enjoy the concepts of, you know, going around and finding things. However, I guess it has to do more with the way the puzzles are laid out. They're very cryptic at times. Sometimes, and you know, in point-and-click adventure games, we talk about a concept called moon logic, where we have you would have no way of knowing that by giving this guy a fish, he will then ascend into the sky and an item will drop down that you need for a door somewhere else. You know, you had no way of knowing that giving him the fish would cause him to ascend into the sky. But the game developers just knew that that's how it would work.
Yeah, and you know, I grew up playing point-and-click adventure games. I still love them to this day, but literally, vast portions of those games are use every item on every single pixel until the game allows you to advance.
Yes. Absolutely.
You guys are doing pretty darn good here.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty pleased with our progress so far. And we've got a good group together, and I enjoy the concept of these, you know, of the party adventuring through the dungeon together. It's why I specifically wanted to grab Con and Alan for this, because, you know, we, without any external help, we were able to, you know, obviously die horribly in the beginning, which, you know, if we were able to increase our base health in the beginning and make fleeing a bit easier, I think that rough edge would have been smoothed over.
So maybe not the first 20 levels, maybe the first 5.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we're level 8 or something like that, and now things are getting a bit better. So
it also helps that I spent all my money on a Japanese blade, and now I deal almost 300 damage per attack.
Well, you were studying the stream, I studied the blade.
Exactly.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think the katana's gonna be my next purchase when we get back to town.
Well, the katana uses a different skill, doesn't it? Fencing?
It uses martial arts.
It uses martial arts, okay. So you actually want to get that little trinket to sit in the bottom corner that gives you low-level martial arts skill, right? Pretty sure there's one of those. I'm just thinking about Khan getting that. I like the little talisman there, and then it'll boost his martial arts skill. You don't think that trinket exists in Twinion? Really? Well, I had no idea.
Uh-oh.
Now, I was going to say that one thing Khan asked earlier, it was, so I can't bring my Yserbius character over. And I was just thinking about the logistics of that. Imagining treating this like an actual MMO world where you could, like, take your character between areas. I know it wouldn't functionally work the way the system, the way the two games are built. Like, it would require some kind of bridging code. But I think that some people might greatly appreciate that ability. Like, maybe after you beat the game, even before that, because people would, again, be able to appreciate taking their character between the two. I guess just the leveling speed would be out of control then.
That's really what it comes down to. At this point, a Twinion and a Yserbius character, from the back end's perspective, are exactly the same.
Yeah.
You could use one in the other. However, let's say you have your level 40 knight, you've beaten Enlakil, you're ready to take on Twinion, and now you import that level 40 knight. Well, the game's not going to be that challenging.
That's right.
That's the thing that's keeping me from doing it. But it's totally possible at this point. In fact, all it would take is a few lines of code.
Yeah.
See, when you said that the games were seamless now and you could meet up in the tavern and everything, that's what I fully expected. And you can do it, which is interesting that you actually put that complete functionality in there, but for balance reasons, you can't actually make it work the way things are right now.
Here's what I'm
And
imagining.
I want to come back to the difference between Twinion and Yserbius. Like, Yserbius gives every character every single skill by the end of the game. In Twinion, they're divvied up to make those roles a little more clear.
Yeah. You said imagine encounters were scaled up. Here's what I'm imagining in my head. I'm actually imagining... I deleted the teleport pass, damn it. Well, it doesn't matter. I have teleport for 15 anyway. I was going to say, my imagination is generating a rebalanced version of Twinion that takes into account the idea that you've beaten Yserbius. And basically just, like, this is this is Act 2, and then Khador would be Act 3. That's my imagination running away with me. It would be a nightmare to balance. I get that, but that's just my imagination. Like this, being able to you don't even have to exit the tavern, or not exit the tavern. You don't have to exit, then switch game. You could just literally there'd be an arrow on the side of the screen, and it'd be like, go over to the next game. Go over to the next game. It's just that's what I'm imagining, like an actual seamless world out of these three games: Yserbius, Twinion, and Khador. Again, logistical nightmare, but just something that's running around my head.
On the other hand, like, you wouldn't run into the early difficulty problem that you ran into. And also, like, it might be fun to just speed run through these other games. Maybe I'm asking people too much by forcing them to level up characters for every single one. I don't know.
Do you guys want to teleport back to selling stuff? My inventory's full. That's the only reason I'm asking.
Yeah. Let me just go. Why don't you use your teleport pass then, I guess, if you want to do that. Or Bam. Good. More defense. Lightning. Very good. But okay. So to be fair, if the game had higher difficulty modes, post clear with new gear upgrades, higher tier stuff, be amazing replayability, though it's a far-fetched idea. That's why I mentioned, like, I gave Zane a document about a bounty system, which would be mostly oriented post-clear, which would give you objectives to do on after you beaten the game, basically, with one like daily objective that isn't post-game. Just you can do anytime you want. But then the other two objectives would be post-game, and they'd be, difficult. One extremely difficult, one just difficult. And, that was my idea for that. But no, I'm really, again, my imagination's running away with me with the whole, concept of, being able to chain Yserbius, Twinion, and Khador back to back, and being able to move seamlessly between those areas. I think that would be pretty amazing. You would have to make concessions with the skill trees, though, and or the way the classes work, though. That
That's where it becomes difficult.
Yeah.
Maybe some statistics will help here, just to throw these numbers in here. So, this game, people have played it a total of 18,500 hours over the course of the last year, which is, I mean, it's not the next Fortnite, but that's a ton for an old game. So there's been 255 people who have played for at least an hour. That's kind of my point at which I say, like, okay, you're a real player at this point. I'm starting to count you in my metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that 255, 145 have made it down to level 2 of the dungeon, down to the basement. So that's roughly 5 hours of play it takes you to get there, get strong enough to make it down to level 2. This is just for Yserbius, by the way. Out of the 255 who played for at least an hour, only 45 got to the point where they returned King Cluan's bones. Like, that's kind of the first major quest that you complete. You have to make it all the way through the secret rooms, you have to complete the palace, you finally make it down to the mausoleum, you return the bones. It's a tough quest.
You know, I honestly think that is something that needed to be signposted better. Not the steps to do it, but the fact that you needed to do it at all.
Yep. It's just like, here's the next thing you should consider doing, but not telling you how to do it.
Yes. So, I think that honestly, oh God, I mean, Zelda had a fortune teller that you could use to get guidance on the next step. And the idea is, if you want to just wander around the overworld map endlessly, you could. You were not obligated to pick up the fortune teller's advice, but I think in that case a kind of hint system wouldn't be a bad idea. Just have keep track.
A hint system is never a bad thing, and tutorials are never a bad thing. But I'm surprised, kind of, to hear you say that the king's bones wasn't made kind of obvious to the player. Because just from what I remember when we were playing before, almost every single NPC and every rune inscription...
They talked about King Cleowen, and... the fact that we went to one area, and the reason you're remembering this so much is because we repeated that area like 5 or 6 times.
I remember watching.
Okay, that might be it.
And what it was the guys they were saying the monsters were returning the items to their original locations. That was the line, and so you had to return all the items to King Cleowen at the same time. Otherwise, if you left the area, then the monsters would return those items to their original locations. That was the story beat that you kept reading over and over, Con. Yes.
Okay. The idea that the monsters are returning the items is just a way of explaining that the game couldn't possibly support maintaining the state after you'd left the dungeon. It reset, just as the nature of how the game worked.
Yeah.
That's reminding me of those dungeon timers we were dealing with in Asheron's Call with the levers and the keys.
Yeah, well, I love Asheron's Call, and I'm really glad they've got a good emulator running it now. Let's see here. Con, have you joined our party yet?
Oh God, I keep forgetting I have to do that. Okay, view others.
It would be awesome if when we teleported out, the party stayed in existence.
I wish I could do that. That's not possible.
I had ended up going back to the lower entrance because I thought we were going back there.
Yeah. But you said it's not possible to...
Well, see, Alan can't invite me to the party. That's impossible.
No. What we were talking about was if the party teleports out together, the idea that the party would stay in existence, and if the party leader entered the dungeon, then everyone would get pulled into the dungeon, basically.
The reason I say it's not possible is because I come up against this game design issue. And to be very simple about it, what happens when, say, 2 of the 4 people of the party have re-entered the dungeon?
Yeah.
And the other 2 are still out of the dungeon? Are they just locked there? can they not move?
Okay.
Because players move by tile, they don't move
Yes.
in the party, if that makes sense.
Okay, very simple. Players are no longer allowed to re-enter the dungeon while a member of the party. Only the party leader can enter the dungeon.
So what happens if a player's in the tavern and the party leader re-enters the dungeon? Do I
Oh, very
vacuum
simple.
me back up in there?
No. Very, very simple. You put a little check. You put a little. You list the players in the corner. Like you put a little party frame in the top corner. Then put little check marks or X boxes next to each player. They have to be ready in order to for the party leader to enter the dungeon. The way it works is if they're on the screen, they're not in the tavern, they're not in the guild hall, they're just sitting at the main map, they're ready. But if they're inside one of the dungeons, just put that little lock symbol you got. You got that lock symbol already. Stick it next to the player. And that's it. You're locked. You can't enter the dungeon unless the players are ready. And there's always a way around it. It's just it requires what do you call it? Diagonal thinking. That's what it requires. Not everyone thinks in the same way. Let's put it like that.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, it literally just requires diagonal thinking. But yeah, guild or tavern equals not ready. Being on the map equals ready. And when you're a member of a party, well, let's put it like this. Only the party leader is allowed to enter the dungeon. If you are solo, you are effectively the party leader. So, therefore, you can enter the dungeon whenever you want.
So there's going to have to, if this were to work the way that you're saying, there would have to be some addition of a chat interface to the main street for two reasons. A, so that the party leader can remind the people who are loafing about in the tavern that they need to get their butts out to the street. Also for players to just communicate with each other so that they have something to do other than just staring at those tiny little 4x4 sprites that are, changing.
This chat window here, the way it is right now, let's create an up arrow at the bottom of the screen. Click this window appears. Click this.
Simple matter of programming, right?
No, there's a bit of graphical interface involved in as well. But you just have this standard chat window, and it wouldn't exist on the main map. But if you clicked the little arrows in the corner, it'd pop up. If you and then you could hide it again. So
with every little suggestion, this is moving closer and closer to Warframe.
Yes.
I have not played that game. I saw you playing it though.
It's a live service game, so that's yeah. The problem you form squads, you do missions. It's true. The difference is that the players interact there. In theory, they can form groups there. But isn't forming groups in a tavern very, very Dungeons and Dragons? Pretty much the core of D&D.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if anything, the default ready state should be in the tavern, because that's the chat room. That's where everybody can communicate and meet with each other.
Yeah, I have a problem with that, just logistically speaking, because then everyone but the dungeon, I don't know, it's just, the entering the dungeon requires you clicking on the dungeon. And we have to respect the fact that that is a part of the game. Otherwise, everything gets a bit weird.
That's why I love this game, though, is because it feels like Dungeons and Dragons. It's not just so hacking with...
Yes. Yes, exactly. Do any of us have read tracks, the skill? Oh, wait, never mind. This talisman casts read tracks and has 5 charges. Okay.
I guess you do.
I thought this had a bonus to read tracks. I was thinking of the other talismans, the Yserbius ones.
I had a talisman that cast it, and I'm looking in front of me. There's going to be an encounter. So.
Very cool. Yep. Yes, dungeon chat happening there. Oh boy. Okay. So, this is a battle. Let's see.
I don't know if you noticed, but those scroll bars are completely new.
Yes, they are.
And they are gorgeous, and that took me far longer than I'd like to admit. Adding these features, I mean, it's surprising. The things that you think would be very easy turn out to be very difficult.
Yes.
The things that are
the
difficult...
scroll bar to this
out,
chat here?
Yeah. If you remember from the original game, it just had the little lock icon in the middle, but other than that, you can scroll up and scroll down. Here, we've got like an actual scroll widget.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually very useful. I've been using that to track my damage and when I miss or not.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Let's see here. Essentially, if you want to do something where you keep the party intact, the entire party system would have to be revamped. Yeah, I was gonna say it takes a backseat to things like ideas like combining Yserbius and Twinion, or adding an end-game set of bounties. Things like that, I think you'd get more return on your development time investment.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, when you're a one-man operation, I think that needs to be your guiding light, is return on and time investment, basically.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? Here's something that's interesting. The things that break the most in this game are things where the server has to maintain some kind of state.
Okay.
Now, as we mentioned, the dungeon itself does not maintain that much state. This is a reflection of the original game design, where they wanted a very simple world, right? Or also because they just couldn't afford to maintain state. So the two things in this game that maintain state, really, are battles, because the server has to know at which step everybody's in, and who's attacking who, and how much time is left, and then parties. Who's in a party, what actions they're taking in the party, who's the party leader.
Yeah.
I have had more bugs occur through me attempting to add features or change things in those two things than anything else.
Okay. No, I think that those...
I just thought that was an interesting tidbit.
No, it's absolutely true, and I think that there's so much here. There's so much value that the party system brings to the game. Even though you can complete the entire game solo, it's still...
And the point is to play as a party.
Yeah.
That's why people were paying $5 an hour back in 1991.
Thankfully, I had a better deal than that.
That's good.
Yes, but I absolutely had to. It wasn't that cheap, It was. I remember the monthly fee being somewhat substantial, regardless. So. But I remember it wasn't an hourly charge, thankfully. It was either you paid a good chunk a month, or you did an hourly charge for without that giant monthly fee. And it's like, we did the giant monthly fee because we were able to mess around with it kind of as a family, where you have all the different profiles for the inn, and they were able to play Red Baron and things like that, and then, at night I'd play Yserbius because I've always been a night owl even since as a kid, Stuff like that.
Interestingly enough, Sierra never made money off of INN. No matter how much they charged an hour, no matter how big those monthly fees, and I think I remember one of them being $200, and we're talking $1991 back then, so that's a ton of money. That's like buying a new game console every single month.
Yeah.
And they never made money. It was just way too expensive. And it's such a cool service. But it's a shame that it didn't happen it's a shame that they could not keep it running until 1995, 1996, which is when TCP/IP started becoming available, and people would have their own dial-up modems to their local ISP. And if they could only have, saved the money that they spent on building out that national network, and I don't know. And that's what caused INN to fold. Not just that it never made money, but in order to save money, Sierra partnered with AT&T
Yep.
Sold 50% of them to them, I think, in 1993. Still were losing money hand over fist, so they sold the whole thing to AT&T in 1995.
Yep.
AT&T realized that they didn't really want this, and so they sold it at a huge loss to AOL, which, realized they didn't really want it either.
Yep.
They shut it down in 1996.
Well,
one more interesting tidbit. There's a person on the INN Facebook group who was talking about why he thought AOL had bought INN, and he thinks they bought him for the server technology, which I think is fascinating. I don't have any more information there, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, Yserbius was a competitor to Neverwinter Nights, so that's like, think about it. You can shut down a competitor and obtain server technology and the national network infrastructure all in one purchase.
So true.
Advances in server technology and infrastructure are always like the most expensive and most difficult to reproduce. It's why, like, when IBM bought Red Hat, for all the things Red Hat does, they bought it for their server platforms and all that stuff.
Con, please lockpick.
Yes, there we go.
But still, you're talking about a purchase for, I think it was $50 or $60 million from AOL to AT&T, and then they shut down Neverwinter Nights not even a year later.
Yeah, we're not talking about the BioWare Neverwinter Nights. We're not talking about Shadows of Undertale, Hordes of the Underdark. Not talking about any of that. We're not either talking about the Neverwinter MMO. We're talking about way back pixel art, not even pixel art, just like stick figures online.
Yeah, the graphics here are way better.
The graphics in this are way better than Neverwinter Nights, the original for AOL. So that tells you something.
Story. Neverwinter Nights came out the same year as Yserbius.
Yes.
Neverwinter Nights was very reminiscent of the Gold Box games. In fact, I'm pretty sure they were using like the same engine or some of the code. If anyone has ever played those were fun back in the day. Don't hold up at all like Yserbius does, but very fun.
Yep. Alright.
Yeah, unfortunately, back in like 92, 93, I was stuck playing these knowledge adventure jumpstart games, because that's all my parents would get me.
Well, you got to keep in mind also, like, the cost of these things. When you were just mentioning those fees earlier, I was thinking what a field day, like, all the console fanboys on YouTube would have about this. Like, haha, you mean that you were essentially buying an Xbox every month just to play one game?
Yeah, but we were online.
Not just one game. It was actually access to a plethora of games. It was... I think there were 7 or 8 in the clubhouse.
You had a bunch of parlor games, so cards and boards.
Yeah.
Then you had Sierra Land, which you were talking about with Red Baron.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 4 of these, right?
3. There was Yserbius, Twinion, and Cador. And they also boxed up Yserbius and sold it as a individual game, but it's not the same. There were slight differences between the two versions, and also you at level 20 you had to pick whether you wanted the character to be offline or online. It was rather interesting.
Good way to save some money there.
See, I'll admit, like, back then, in the 90s, the only Sierra games I knew of were, like, the disc for, like, Hoyle card games and the board game series, and that was it. That's all I thought Sierra made.
I thought you were going to say King's Quest or something.
I was going to say The Incredible Machine!
Oh, God, those were so good.
Was that a Sierra game?
Yes.
Yeah, so most of INN was programmed in this engine called LSCI, which was a variant of the same engine that they used to program their adventure games, their click-and-point games. almost all of INN was programmed in that. All of the card games, all of the like paintball in the Sierra Land, all of the waiting rooms, all programmed in LSCI, which is the same thing that you were using for like King's Quest 6.
Yeah.
Yserbius was one of the few games that wasn't programmed in LSCI.
Makes sense.
And that's why, you see like a much more involved game, right? With like little things that you can pick up. More difficult to do that in SCI.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about regarding this whole project, MedievaLands?
Are we reaching the end of the stream, do you think?
Well, I think we've got maybe another 20 minutes in us, but I figured, we should probably think about what else we want to talk about instead of just rambling a bit.
No, that's fair. I don't really have any topics that are super important. Maybe I could say this. As a programmer, I continually come back to recreating retro games, and I kind of want to use this as an idea for people who maybe want to get into programming games themselves. I said that, I think I'm an okay programmer, but I'm not a game designer. So I look for old experiences that I can recreate, and then I can, practice my fun hobby without getting into the nitty-gritty of game design. I have tried to program MedievaLands or Yserbius recreations 3 times, and this is the first one that succeeded. This is the first game project I've ever made that's really succeeded, and I know there's a lot of people out there that want to complete their own game or have another project they're working on, whether that's a video game or a book or a webcomic or a big school project. And I gotta say, if you want to complete a project, the best tip I can offer is rigorous upfront planning. You got to sit down and really think about the high-level features that need to be implemented, and you write those down. And then you break those down into what systems are going to be needed to implement those features, and you write those down. And then you break those systems down into the steps necessary to get those systems working. You got to take the time up front to plan out exactly how you're going to plan on doing it. And it's only when you have that roadmap that you're going to be able to get where you want to go. That's how you get this stuff done, guys.
And that's why I will never be a professional programmer, despite having taken a year of C++ classes. That's 2 semesters. I will never be a professional programmer because what I showed you is my process. That document I drew up. I spent maybe 5-10 minutes. And I just scribbled out that document really quick, stream of consciousness, and that's literally how I function. I'm a writer first and foremost, so I scribble things out and then I refine it over time. And in other words, it's the opposite of what you're doing. Where you're actually like grabbing detailed systems and you're planning them out. I plan out nothing. I fly by the seat of my pants, and I act on instinct most of the time, and then I refine what I've done. And so it's a completely different approach that makes it incompatible for programming, but great for coming up with storylines and things like that.
Oh yeah, different processes work for different people, but I think if you're going to program, you got to be really rigorous in planning it out. And I have no formal training in programming, none. I'm just a hobbyist. Mm-hmm. You can do this too, guys. You just need to come up with a process that works for you.
And I just want to say that you keep downplaying your design chops and everything, but I think it's actually very important, the kind of things that you're doing with this client and improving the polish and the quality of life stuff and modernizing things a little bit. The amount of work that it takes to actually take what on the surface is a very simplistic game system, but make it more intuitive for players. People vastly underestimate the amount of work that actually has to go into that, because as you said, even something like this scroll bar, to add that in takes a considerable amount of effort. So that's something that oftentimes we see it all the time. An indie game might have some really interesting design concepts and gameplay elements, but it can lack in many respects intuitive control, and like user experience really suffers from the lack of the kinds of things that you're specifically narrowing your focus on in this MedievaLands project.
Yep.
Well said. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. At the same time, like, it's important to remember that those indie developers, even with their crappy games, are real people, and we got to remember to treat them with compassion, even when they make crappy games.
Yes.
Well, yeah, my point is, I mean, I would consider this, the same, like an indie project as well, and
oh yeah, totally.
Definitely, absolutely, everybody who's making indie games is, putting out really interesting, compelling things that are, in many ways, that's where all the new ideas are coming from. And so, but everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and I think clearly your strengths here, you would be very well served. I think there's many people out there who need this kind of stuff, what you're bringing to the table. And I think this is like a good partnership. Is take somebody who has those compelling gameplay concepts and can implement those and has good ideas, and then get somebody like you who has the eye for these quality of life things, and that's how you can put together a very good team and realize a very compelling vision for an indie game.
Right, that's why a lot of, most games are designed by teams, not individuals, and you occasionally get this viral hit which was made up by one person, but then you ask yourself, are you sure it couldn't have been a little bit better if a few people worked on it? Just saying, that's the way things work sometimes. All right. Well, I was gonna say that you should probably start telling people how they can contribute, either just by becoming a player or actually helping with the project.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so it's a one-man band project at this point, and I really don't have the mental space to take on additional team members. It's something I'm going to be considering, but not in the near-term future. Right now, if you want to join as a player, join us on MedievaLands.com. It's MedievaLands, only one L there, so like MedievaLands.com. Right now, Twinion is in open beta. That's what Zaric, Khan, and Alan are playing. Hopefully, we'll be able to smash the remainder of these bugs, including the ones that we discovered on this stream in the near future, and we can bring this out to a general release and get some more people into this dungeon and have a bunch of fun playing with each other. That is what I'd like more than anything. And then, as players continue to play, I hope to start adding more features, really expand on some of the ideas we've talked about tonight, as well as expanding on the original game, adding more features. Maybe the crafting idea that we talked about would show up. And maybe from there taking it into like a Yserbius style game, but a completely brand new one. Mm-hmm. But that's far off in the future. Watch this space.
Okay. Well, thanks for showing up. I don't see why we can't keep playing for another 10, 20 minutes, but I think we've covered everything that needs to be covered. I just wanted to make sure that we got that done before I started to fade into obscurity. I'm getting a bit tired here. It's been a day. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I hear ya.
So
yeah, it's about bedtime over here as well.
You mentioned things with your work kind of changing because of the coronavirus. It's kind of the same here. I had travel plans that got completely canceled, and even local meetings have been canceled to where everything has been happening online. And my original plan for today was I was going to do one long stream just all day. And it was going to start off in Daggerfall, go into Warframe, and then I was going to hop on this and do the stream with you. And, like, one of those meetings that was supposed to happen in real life later in the week, that got canceled. And, like, we can do it today. I'm like, I guess, but I don't really want to, you know, in one of those cases. And since everyone else was on board for the meeting today, I'm like, okay, I won't be the one person who's ruining it for everyone, you know. But I was just kind of sad that I couldn't fulfill my original plan. And the coronavirus is messing with everything. E3, that got nuked off the face of the planet. You know, E3's not happening this year. And usually I find out my schedule based on all the releases. You know, like, when is this game coming out? When is that game coming out? Because, you know, I do all my online stuff based on when things are coming out. So, because E3 got nuked, I'm sitting here going, when are things coming out? So, the point is, real-life work has been turned online, and it's being accelerated in its timetable. And online fun, you know, like doing streams and stuff, I have no idea what the schedule is going to be like. Coronavirus is just causing everything to go crazy. How about for you?
Like, the one thing we should be doing at this point is social distancing. And Zaric, I gotta say, you're doing your part here. You're providing entertainment to all the people who are, thank goodness, shutting themselves up for the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody just stay inside and watch Zaric stream and watch his YouTube videos, and make sure you share those around so other people can stay inside and watch them too.
Yes, and make sure to subscribe or watch the advertisements, because yeah, I was going to hit the we've got to have money button, but the Stream Deck doesn't want to apply at all. This is the second meme I tried to hit. Let me really quick reopen Stream Deck. I all day long I've had this, and it's bothering me that I can't use it now. Oh God, there we go. If I try this, oh no, it's definitely not working. I'll have to figure this out later. Why the Stream Deck doesn't want to run? The main sources tab is open, so I have no idea why it's not working. We'll have to figure it out at some point. For now, I'm just gonna...
The meme machine is down?
The meme machine is down, yes. The media panel, if I were to do... let's give this a try.
We've got to have money.
I was able to play the We Got to Have Money meme there, but the Stream Deck doesn't want to acknowledge it. So I'm already having technical issues. You're doing your part? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, GDC is very unfortunate. Let's put it like that. I'm very sad because I really like those GDC presentations. Zane, are you aware of No Man's Sky at all?
You know, as a Mac user, unfortunately, I can't play that game. Oh, it's out on the Xbox, though.
Yeah. Well, No Man's Sky was terrible when it was originally released, but
I remember hearing that.
Bit by bit, Sean Murray has gotten better. Lava Glove, you can't trade this. Interesting.
Oh, you need that. That is the first quest, getting the Lava Glove.
Okay.
So don't throw that away.
Yeah.
It's got a funky icon. It doesn't look like every other item.
Yeah. That's pretty fancy. Let's see here. I'm just looking at what's available. That's fine. We'll just delete that. Pick this up. Okay. Very, very good. Well, I honestly think that's about enough for now. I mean,
good stopping point.
Yeah, I'm terribly exhausted, and I'm looking forward to taking a nap. But Zane, next time when you've progressed a little further on whatever you plan to do, I suggest we have another discussion, because this was productive. I absolutely enjoyed it, and I think that I just think we can cover some ground once we get some better ideas of how things are developing, like when the beta's done, for example. But I do for anyone who's wondering, I highly recommend playing this game, especially the Yserbius portion, because I have fond memories of that. I'll keep you guys up to date as things get changed. I jump between games frequently, but every few months I always come back to Yserbius for some reason. It's a game that I've always enjoyed. So, anything else you have to say, Zane?
Zaric, thank you so much for having me on. I had a great time talking with you. Con and Alan, you guys are great, and I wish you guys the absolute best. And guys, social distancing.